take off.
Hello, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. My name's Diana Sunshine, and I'm on the Coursera team. I'm excited to be working with the ASU team to bring the Masters of Computer Science and degree online, and we're very excited to have everyone here today. First of all, I'd like everyone to get comfortable on the Zoom platform. If you mouse over, you're going to see at the bottom, there's 141 participants that have joined so far. There's a Q&A box. If you click on the Q&A box, you can see that this is a place where you can ask questions. We prefer that you ask your questions in the Q&A box versus the chat. And when you are asking questions, try hard to make it so that they're questions that apply to everyone versus just your unique circumstance. If you do have a unique circumstance that you have a question for, there is an email address that you can direct those questions to. And that email address is gradenrollment@asu.asu.edu. And then also, if you look, there's a chat box. And we want everyone to get on the chat box right now and just type in where you're coming from. So I'm going to say, hi, I'm Diana, and I'm in California. Perfect. And you can see we have people from Vancouver, New Jersey, Phoenix, Montreal, New York City, Chicago, Bogota. This is great. Saudi Arabia. Wow. So we truly have an international group today. This is super exciting. So not only am I here today, but we have two experts from the Arizona State University, Fulton School of Engineering. One is a professor of research in the computer science department, and the other is in the admissions and advising office from the Arizona State University graduate program. So I am now going to turn it over to Dragan and Christina to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Diana. I'm Christina Sebring. I am one of the advisors in the SIDSI advising office, and I will be advising all of the online Master of Computer Science students. Behind the scenes, we also have Allison Kieran, who's on chat. She's our assistant director, and Roxy Havanesian, who's our manager over graduate advising.
Thank you, Christine. My name is Dragan Boscovic. I'm a research professor at School of Computer Science, and I would be happy to give you an introduction to this course and answer any of the questions that you might have later. So we go to the next slide by explaining what is the agenda for today.
So today we're going to talk about why they should pursue the ASU MCS degree, give a little overview of what the curriculum is going to look like, talk about potential employers, discuss how it's going to integrate with Coursera, what the application process looks like, and then get to some of your questions. As a reminder, please make sure you use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, because that means to see and answer your questions.
Okay, and it is back to me. I'm going to explain or give you an introduction into this course, and I start by explaining why it is good for you to actually subscribe to this course. I would start by explaining that SIDSI is one of the largest schools that we have at Fulton School of Engineering. It has almost 5,000 students, undergraduates, and we also have 1,400 graduate students. It would be great that we see you add to that number of the graduate students going forward. I would also state that we have been voted the best online program in 2018 for graduate engineering. And also, we are #1 of the best public universities as voted by international students. I would like also to explain why it is important for you to consider basically joining or studying for master's degree. We live in very complex times where the technology is being very important component of the lives, and it is increasing. Increasing, sorry, on daily basis. So it means that you would be reading about machine learning, artificial intelligence, about autonomous driving. All those are the things that you would be able to learn if you join this course. So it is important from time to time to refresh your knowledge and basically get into deeper understanding what is behind those technologies. I would go to the next slide and now explain what other courses that are being offered as part of this degree. We have right now 19 courses, and they have been divided into 3 different classes. So we have the courses that are listed as foundational courses, system courses, applications, and also electives. In order for you to get your degree at the end, you would need to start by choosing at least one course from the foundation, one from the systems, and one from the application class. Then you would have options to choose other 7 courses based on your interest, and those might be focused on big data, data engineering, software engineering, artificial intelligence, semantic web, natural language processing, or whatever is really what you are interested in and you think is going to give you a good position or starting position to find a job of your dreams. Now, I'll also explain what you can expect to learn during this course. So, this is basically a program which is focusing more on explaining why things work certain way than how it actually can be built. And you would have good exposure into the foundations of how computer science is basically established as technical science. What are those fundamentals, technique, and methodologies underneath? Then you would be able to also understand and figure out why some of the processes are better off if implemented on the cloud in the shared resource versus the edge or dedicated resource. You would be also able to focus on some real-time applications and actually learn about the scheduling of automated events. You would be able to understand how natural language processing works, and many other things that are so important for designing those new systems or new solutions. Then this won't be really a good course if we did not offer you possibility to learn about the cybersecurity and how you can make whatever you are intending to build more secure, and what are those really techniques that will help you have the system that will scale and that will be operational most of the time, 99.99%. That is basically the standard. And with that, I would also say that this course is great for giving you foundations and helping you not just be an engineer, but also be somebody who will understand the system level architecture, and on that basis you would be able to think what are the next systems, or what is the next big thing that we like to have in computer science. Our students are very successful, and they have been finding actually employment in many good companies on a basis of the learnings that they were able to acquire during this course. And at this point, I would transition to Christina. She will give you an overview of what are those companies and what is the experience of our students at those companies. Christina?
Thank you. As you mentioned, those skills are all very important. In fact, employers seek out our graduates and take those skills who are able to take the skills they've learned and develop leading edge applications and technologies in some of the big companies that you can see on your screen, such as Adobe, Amazon, IBM, Intel, Microsoft, Salesforce, PayPal. GoDaddy has said that they love Arizona State University students because they're passionate, smart, scrappy, and dedicated to making a difference. So our students definitely take those skills and excel out in the industry. What's unique about this program is it'll be integrated with the Coursera platform, which allows us to offer innovative learning experiences at scale without sacrificing the quality and rigor that's expected of an ASU graduate degree program. It's fully integrated with Arizona State University, so students will apply and be admitted here. They'll enroll through their courses through the portal, which is known as My ASU. They'll complete the courses on Coursera using their platform, their learning tools, their exam proctoring services. And then their grades will post back through My ASU and appear in their ASU transcripts. So they're fully integrated. So now we'll talk a little bit about the program structure and what the application process looks like. So our program is 30 credit hours or 10 courses. We'll have 3 start dates a year. So the first one is coming up in August, and we'll have one in January, and then one in May. There'll be a culminating experience at the very end that students will complete, which we call project portfolio. Basically, as you complete projects throughout your classes, at the end, you'll compile them into a project portfolio that you submit as your culminating document. The program will cost $15,000. There is financial aid available, but it is subject to availability, and eligibility is very individual. So, but more than 70% of our students do receive some form of financial assistance, so it is definitely possible. So getting into the requirements, students applying to the program do need to have at least 3 semesters of calculus, including multivariate. We also require a 3.25 junior-senior GPA, which is the GPA taken from the last 60 credit hours of the last 2 years of the undergraduate degree. Anybody who has lower than that, or even just has general questions on if this is the right degree, if it fits with their long-term goals, should contact our enrollment team. Their information is showing again on your screen. That enrollment that Diana mentioned at the beginning is gradenrollment@asuonline.asu.edu. And they'll be able to answer any of those individual questions about eligibility. So we also have some prerequisite requirements. This helps to ensure students have the right foundation to excel and succeed in this program. So we want to see courses in computer architecture and assembly language, data structures and algorithms, operating systems, principles of programming languages, which is an advanced programming language class, introduction to theoretical computer science, and then introduction to software engineering. And then we also have some documents we require. So we have an online application that you'll complete with ASU. We also ask you to submit a statement of purpose or a statement of intent. You'd also need to have all of your official transcripts from all schools that you've attended sent to ASU. If you are an international student, you also need to submit proof of English proficiency. And then letters of recommendation are optional, but if you submit them, it can definitely strengthen your application, but we do not require them. So getting into more what the process looks like, there is an online application that you'll need to start, and there is an application fee associated with that. It's either $70 or $90, depending on if you're an international student or not. And then there's some documents you attach and some things you need to have sent directly, such as the transcripts and the English proficiency. The deadline to apply for the fall semester is July 20th. And then we will be making decisions about 2 to 4 weeks from the time your application is complete, meaning all documents received. Yeah. On that MyASU portal I referred to, you can see your application progress. There's a couple screenshots on the screen that shows what the priority task looks like. That'll show you if your English proficiency is in, if your transcripts are in. And then you can also see what the status of your application. Are items pending? Is it in review? Or has there been a decision? So you can view everything through your MyASU. So the next steps is to go in and submit an application. There's a direct link that'll take you right to the application. That's links.asu.edu/MCS-application. And again, any student-specific questions, individual questions, you can submit to our enrollment team at gradenrollment@asuonline.asu.edu. And they also have a phone number if you'd prefer to call and speak with somebody. And that's 866-541-0891.
And now we are open for questions.
Yes, so we can take your questions. As a reminder, please make sure you're submitting your questions through the Q&A because that makes it much easier for us to be able to see them and respond to them.
Wonderful. Well, we have a number of questions that have come through the Q&A. And so what I will do is I will ask each of them to you guys, and we will try to get through as many as we can in the next 40 minutes. So I've seen this question come up a lot, Dragan and Christina, where what if you don't have like a CS background, you know, like say you're a major in finance or something like that, but you don't have a CS background. If you do all the prerequisites that are required, can you get the master's in computer science, or do you need something else?
It is possible, but the prerequisites would need to be completed. At this time, they're not available online, but we're hoping to have a pathway available starting spring 2019 for students from other disciplines who want to complete the program to allow them another avenue to complete these prerequisites. But as of now, they do need to be completed to be eligible for admission. So if you have a background in another discipline, you could start working on those prerequisite courses and building up that foundation to make sure you'd be successful in the program.
Right. Let me ask a little bit around that. So you have to have the prerequisites completed prior to application. Is that accurate to say?
It is strongly recommended because the admissions to our program is very competitive. So to have everything completed, make sure you have a competitive application and that you're fully prepared for the graduate level courses.
Perfect. And then in the spring, ASU is planning on having a pathway that will offer all of those prerequisite courses. But right now, if I wanted to do that, would that be something like I can go to, say, my local community college or something like that to get those? Is that what you would recommend if you wanted to get, say, to apply by I guess you couldn't apply by the July 20th deadline if you don't have the prerequisites completed. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's probably accurate, but you could seek out your local, there's one class you could take at a community college, but most of those classes are 300 level. So, but a local university, you could definitely start taking the courses there and then apply for admission in a future semester. That's absolutely an option.
Perfect. Okay, so I've also seen a couple other questions about, somebody asked what's the minimum GRE score? And I think that you don't have to have a GRE. Is that accurate?
That's correct. We do not require the GRE for our online program.
And then I've seen a few questions asking about the GPA, you know, like, gee, you know, my GPA is a 2.9, you know, what are the options for that person if they don't have the 3.2 GPA in the last 2 years of their undergraduate?
In that situation, that's when we need to see some more recent graduate level coursework. So that will actually be built into the pathway that will be released available in spring. So that will be available for students not only that don't have the computer science background, but also who maybe don't quite meet that GPA requirement, where they can kind of work their way to try to become admissible. So another option for now could be, again, to take some graduate level classes at a local school as a non-degree student to try to establish a higher graduate level GPA.
Excellent. And then I do know for performance pathways, it's not just completing the class, but it's completing it well, right?
That's correct. Yes, absolutely.
So, can you explain? So you would basically have to get like greater than a B+ in the class to then be considered strong enough for the program if you're taking the performance pathway?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay,
Dragan. B+ average. Yep.
I finally have a question for you. It says, the
Thank
question
you,
is, inside artificial intelligence, is deep learning included in that class?
Yes, it is. And we have several courses that will include notions of deep learning. So yes, it is included.
Great. Then there's been a number, you can imagine, a number of questions about scholarships. And so there's kind of a couple different things. One is, are scholarships available? And then second, are they available for international students?
That's something where you'd be better off contacting the financial aid office at ASU, because eligibility for any type of financial aid is so individual that you would want to work directly with that office to see what exactly you are, as an individual, are eligible for.
Perfect. Okay, now this question's come up. So how is this online course, it's more than a course, this online degree, different from doing a Master's of Computer Science at ASU?
So I can answer that. First of all, this is really composition of the courses which are focusing on explaining or giving foundational knowledge on computer science, but at the same time trying to capture all the new things, as we said, and it is machine learning, big data, data engineering, and artificial intelligence. For the grad courses that are at campus, not all of those are being offered right now in the same form, or including that material that will be included in online courses. Online courses will also have very hands-on projects that are focused on having hands-on experience on those techniques. And in that context, it is unique because you would be able to do that in your own time, and you would be also able to have a interaction with teaching assistants on the topics or on the aspects of the course that you are really interested in.
Just to add to that, the students are going to get the same education that the on-campus students are getting from our award-winning faculty, just through an online and more scalable platform. So it allows us to really spread that around the world, really.
That's awesome. So somebody has asked, and you guys may not know the answer to this one, but it's, how is this degree and the courses provided in the degree different from the other courses provided in collaboration with Coursera? And if you don't know, I can answer that a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
sure, I'll answer it then. So basically, that Coursera offers a lot of these courses, right? Offers a lot of courses, but they are not necessarily credentialed, right? You need to get a degree from a degree granting university like Arizona State University to then get a master's in computer science. And that is different, right? Getting that credential is different than saying, hey, I've taken a machine learning class, or I've taken a data architecture class. It has a different rigor and a different credentialing. So that to me is the big difference. Another question that we have, and people have asked this a few different ways, is just kind of you know, if you don't get a scholarship, but you are going to pay, how do the payments work? Can it be paid in installments? Is it pay as you go? Like, can you explain a little bit about the financial, how that works?
I know it'll be charged per class. So the amount you pay will be based per class and then charged by semester. So it's not all $15,000 up front. It depends on how quickly you take them, like how many classes you take a semester. And then there's tuition payment due dates that ASU has. Installment plans, you would want to discuss that with the billing office to see what options are available. Yeah. If you need to do a payment plan, we would definitely defer to the billing office for that. They are the experts in that area. But it is definitely charged per class.
That's great. Yeah. And then how long do you think a typical person would take to get through the entire degree program?
I mean, that's largely going to depend on how many classes you take. So, I mean, it's 10 classes.
It is 10 classes, and I think we assume that somebody will be able to complete 3 or 4 per year. So it should take between 3 and 4 years basically to complete this online.
Yeah.
If really somebody is ambitious, I think that can be completed even in 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see really any issue, but I think assumption is that people will be doing something else in parallel, and that 3 to 4 courses per year is a good pace for them in that context.
Yeah, it'll definitely depend on how much else they have going on and how many classes they take. But the classes will be 7.5 weeks. So you could definitely take 4 or 5 per year, depending on your other obligations.
How late?
Yeah, and
how
I just
hard
want
you like to
to
push yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to reiterate what this person was asking was that, so it's not really installments that you're paying by, but you're paying by the class as you take it. So if it's a $15,000 for the entire program and it takes you, say, 3 years to do it, then it's $5,000 per year, basically, you know what I mean? And then broken up. And I think that's really important for people to understand, because a lot of people look at education and they see a price tag and they think that's a per year charge. This is not a per year charge. This is for the entire degree. So it's a very cost effective, much more affordable than you would have at another place.
I mean, another way to state the tuition is it's $1,500 per course.
Yeah.
$1,500 per course. That's great to know. So if you take one course, then per semester, it would, or per course, or if you take one per semester, it's $1,500.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, and then somebody asked, what's the time period of the online course? So actually, so you guys had stated that it is, it could take 2 to 4 years to complete the whole thing, the whole degree. But how long does, say, a course take, a semester course? Is that, how does that line up with
7 weeks?
Yep, 7 weeks.
7 weeks is per course. Yeah.
Great. And then do people need to take them at the same time, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to take courses in the fall, then there's a start and an end date to the fall courses, correct? Keep going.
I think this question might be leaning a little bit towards we do have a continuous enrollment policy at ASU, but that just means you have to be enrolled in something each for the entirety of the fall semester, which runs August to December, even though the courses are much shorter than that, and then, or this one class in the spring semester. So even if they choose to take one session A course, which would go August to October, then they would have to enroll again until spring in January, and then they'd be okay based on continuous enrollment policies. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think it does. And this kind of, somebody else had also asked something that's a little bit similar, which is like, you know, can I take this at my own pace? And I think the answer is that it's flexible within the semester, that you can go at the pace you want, but you do have to complete it within the semester.
Absolutely. So basically the minimum would be, I guess, 2 classes per year. 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring is the minimum. But other than that, it's definitely your own pace.
Yeah.
Cool. Somebody asked about concentrations. And This is so funny. Okay, it says, how do you handle concentrations? I'm interested in concentration in big data in particular.
So we will have the concentrations, I guess is the best answer to that. For fall, it's just the general Master of Computer Science. As more courses launch, then the degree concentrations as part of the degree program with the concentration in big data or cybersecurity will be available. So that's a future state that those will be available. But the courses are starting to roll out, especially in the big data area.
Excellent. All of my questions are, they're moving as more people are answering questions, so it's hard for me to see. So give me 1 second. Somebody had asked, can I get a visa? Like if I take this and I'm international, can I get a visa?
Okay, so if you're international and you're doing an online program, you're not eligible for a student visa. So when you apply, you should actually select it's called a JN designation, which just means you're an international student not coming to the U.S. So for instance, if there are any students listening who are currently on a student visa, you actually can't do an online program. So, but an international student not coming to the U.S., so staying home, can complete the online program, but they are not eligible for the student visa.
Excellent. So a lot of people have asked, if I qualify and I have the prerequisites, what do I do next? And I'm assuming,
yeah.
So do you want to talk through, I mean, it sounds like a simple question, but it sounds like people are like, well, what do I do now? So do you want to just walk through that one more time really quickly?
Yeah. So we'll, at the end, I think we're going to put the screen back up that has all the links where you can go, you'll want to go to the ASU website and submit an online application. Request to have all your official transcripts sent to ASU. If you're international, you also need to submit proof of English proficiency, write your statement of intent, and then get that application submitted. And then once it's in, we'll go ahead and review it, and you'll have your admission decision in about 2 to 4 weeks.
Wow, that's fast. So I had kind of, once again, I think we talked a little bit about this, but I'd like to bring it up again. People are wondering, what's the quickest you think you can finish the program, and then what's the longest that you have to finish the program?
Well, the longest is 6 years. Well, the 6 years. Yeah, ASU policy requires 6 years. So from the time you're admitted, you have 6 years to finish. So you can spread that out if you want to. The quickest.
Really depends on the person, and I think, as we said, each course is 7.5 weeks. 7.5 weeks. So we think the soonest is probably 2 years.
And it's possible maybe a year and a half if they're really ambitious and they're going full time, and that's
if they
their primary focus.
100% of their
100%
time.
probably. Maybe, but that's definitely full dedication.
It's hard. It's really hard. This is, I mean, just because it's online, it's still extraordinarily rigorous. It's a master's program.
Yes, it is. Yes. So 2 years is our solid average for our on-campus students who are doing school full time. So if you're not doing this full time, it will likely take longer.
Now, somebody asked, would it be possible to switch from the online program to the on-site, on-campus program at ASU?
So our on-campus program does have slightly different admissions requirements. For instance, they have to have 3 letters of recommendation, and we do require the GRE for our on-campus program. So you would have to submit a new application to come to the on-campus program. There's also some pre-admission and transfer rules to be aware of, which is 12 credit hours that they would be able to bring from the online to the on-campus. So it is possible, but a new application would be required, and we need to just make sure there's not too many credits that they're trying to bring with them.
Wonderful. Well, there's a few people who've asked a little bit about postgraduate employment. So one person wanted to know if I wanted to teach computer science, would this degree be beneficial? I'm just going to do kind of one at a time.
Yeah, so I think it will definitely give you good foundations, and you would have a good platform on which to build on. I think depending on the university and what is their basically criteria for the teaching posts. I would answer that yes, but it will basically vary from university to university or school to school. So we are not able to give a really definitive answer to that question.
There's no guarantee, but it can set you up, obviously, to become a professor if that's your passion and what you want to do, depending on the university that you're applying to.
But I think it will definitely give you platform, and if you like to go and do your PhD, you would be more than really qualified and have the foundations to do that. Okay.
Excellent. And that actually ties to another question that somebody said, if I get the online master's, is it recognized well enough that I could do my PhD after it from the United States?
I mean, it be recognized the same as our Master of Computer Science on campus. There's no additional designation that it was completed online. It's the same degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it would give you the foundation for that.
Perfect. People also are asking, and once again, I know there's no guarantee, but they said, hey, if I have this degree and I'm not from the United States, do you think I can apply for a job in Europe or the United States afterwards with this degree?
I mean,
Yeah.
there's other immigration.
Yeah. I think, of course, they can apply, but it will depend on the specific employer to decide how they are going to handle that application. So it is really outside of responsibility of ASU.
Excellent. I think we're getting pretty close to being done with the questions. So there have been some questions about the English proficiency test. So what if somebody has been working in the United States for more than 5 years?
So graduate admissions, if your education was completed somewhere other than the United States, they do still require proof of English proficiency. There's a few exceptions. It's like if you've ever taken some graduate coursework, there's a few exceptions, but you'd really want to double check directly with graduate admissions on that. But for the most part, if your education is anywhere other than the United States, you're going to have to submit proof of English proficiency. And that's TOEFL, IELTS, Pearson.
And if somebody does have kind of extenuating circumstances, they should just email the grad enrollment, right, to ask a specific question about, hey, you graduated from this program, or I worked here, does it still apply?
Yeah, they can absolutely consult with the enrollment team. But again, if the education, that's really what it's based on, is where your education was completed. So if the education was completed anywhere other than here, you're very likely going to have to submit proof of English proficiency.
Got it. And somebody took a general training exam for the IELTS, and they thought, is that good enough, or do they actually have to take the test? I think you have to take the test.
You have to take this. Yeah, you have to take the test. I'm not sure.
Could an online student get an internship in the United States if they're from another country during the program?
Unfortunately not, because you wouldn't have the F1 visa, which is what helps make you eligibility to work under like curricular practical training or optional practical training. So because you won't have that student visa, you would not be eligible for internships.
Okay, and then someone asked a great question. Anusha asked, how do I collaborate with classmates and professors in this degree?
The Coursera platform is going to have some of those technologies built in, Slack and other things for collaborating with students. I know that's one methodology for like group projects and other ways.
I also know that you're probably going to have some live office hours that people can attend.
Yes, yes.
And do you know if any of the courses will have group projects? Because that's another way that a lot of the Coursera degree programs get, there's collaboration that way.
So I can answer that one. For the two courses that we are launching right now, that is CSC 511 and CSC 578, we would have, actually each will have two projects, and those will be group projects that you would be able to interact with rest of the team, and also with teaching assistant that will be there to help facilitate that discussion and make sure that you are progressing well with your project. So yes, there would be collaboration across the participants in that project.
Great. So some people asked about the English proficiency test having an expiration date. Do you know, is there kind of like you have to take the TOEFL or IELTS, I don't even know how to say that, IELTS within a certain amount of time?
Yes, I believe it's 3 years, 2 years.
2 to 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And that information will be on the website. So for somebody who cares about that, if you can go into to the website, you'll be able to see all of the details.
Yeah, and they do use from the admission date. So like if for the program starting in August, it would have to be within that. It's from that date. So it's not from the application date. It's from when classes start.
What if you are a U.S. citizen, but your degree is from a different country? You still would have to take the TOEFL, right? Because it's not based off citizenship. It's based off English proficiency.
Yeah, that's good. That is correct. Yes. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of nuances around all of these questions, right?
Yes.
And it's not as clear cut. So people have been asking about the prerequisite courses, and right now it sounds like ASU does not have them available online, but will in the spring. Correct?
There'll be a pathway available to complete the courses in spring.
Excellent.
So yes, with that we are targeting spring to have that pathway available to assist students in completing those prerequisites for the program.
Perfect. Let me see what other questions people have. Oh, this is a good question. How are exams handled?
So
I know there's proctoring.
Yeah,
there's a proctoring service.
So I think we would have the project assessments at the end of the course and during the course or the modules within that course. And the grade will be composite of how well you do with your project assignments and how well you do with your assessment exam at the end. So that will be all handled online through platforms that are integrated with Coursera.
Perfect. Okay. I feel like most of the other questions are really specific for individuals and not broad for everybody. So I feel like if you feel that your questions have not been answered, I would recommend that people, once again, email the program. And I know, Christina, you're going to be talking about that in a moment, but it looks like that we have been able to wrap up all of our questions.
All right, let's.
So we are just to share that screen, which will show the information on how to apply. So I think if we go, no, we go back. So this one. This one, yeah, apply. Yeah.
So you can apply. Go to links.asu.edu/MCS-application. That's where you can submit your application online, and that'll queue us to review it. And again, you're going to be admitted. You'll hear back in 2 to 3 weeks. For the questions, especially those individual ones that Diana mentioned, you want to email those to gradenrollment@asuonline.asu.edu. And of course, if you'd rather call and speak to somebody, you can call the enrollment team. And that number is 866-541-0891.
This is great. So I think for most people, the next step is if you don't have any questions, you should just start an application and submit it. And the final deadline for submission is July 20th. Yes. But you can apply at any time, and then decisions will be made within 2 to 3 weeks of your submission. So you will know if you get in or not. And then Christina, if you don't get in, will ASU be able to explain why, and then what pathways you can take to be able to qualify in the future?
You do get a letter, but it doesn't always come with the specifics because it's such a competitive process. But that's something where that enrollment team should be able to give you some guidance regarding, what your eligibility is and possible reasons that you weren't admitted this time.
Excellent. Well, I have to say this was really wonderful. It was so fun to see people from all over the world. We had people from the Middle East, from Asia, from the US, from Latin America. It's an amazing global audience, and I think that is one of the strengths of all of these online programs. So I think this is, it's been a great session. I want to thank Dragan and Christina for their time, and I want to thank everyone else for their time joining us today, and know that we will be sending out a recording of this webinar to everyone, and you should be getting it by tomorrow. So thank you so much. And good luck on your application.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.